All right, everyone, get ready because today we are taking a deep dive into AI research that's really pushing the boundaries of how we think about visual content.
Yeah, we are going to be talking about a paper called VisionReward.
And that name, I mean, it kind of gives it away.
It does, right.
We're talking about teaching AI to go beyond just seeing images and videos to actually judging them.
Yeah, like judging them based on things like how good the composition is, how realistic they are, even things like whether the content is safe, you know?
Exactly, like moving beyond just identifying what's in the image and more into like those gut reactions we have, like, wow, that's a beautiful photo, or, that
Yeah.
video was just so captivating.
And these researchers, they've come up with some seriously clever ways to teach AI to do just that.
So for a long time, we've had, AI that could recognize faces or, categorize objects.
Right, the more objective stuff.
But this paper is really all about bridging that gap between objective analysis and the subjective world of like human preferences.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's super fascinating because like for a long time, AI vision has been all about like, okay, can we recognize this face? Can we classify this object? But this is really getting into like, okay, how do we make AI understand what humans find appealing?
So how did they even go about that? Like, how do you teach an AI what's good or bad when it comes to visuals?
So the key here is how they broke down the problem.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to give an image or video just like one overall score, they said, okay, let's think about all the different things that go into how we judge visuals.
So it's kind of like a checklist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is like a checklist. So, if you're looking at a photo, you might ask yourself, okay, is the composition good? Are the colors pleasing?
Is it making me feel something?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And so they took those kinds of questions and turned them into a checklist for the AI to consider.
That's really clever. And it makes sense because we do that all the time without even realizing it, right?
Yeah, we are constantly making these judgments about the visuals we see.
Yeah, but so how do you actually train the AI to do that? Like, do they just show it a ton of pictures and say, like, this one's good, this one's bad?
It's a bit more complicated than that.
Oh, okay.
So what they did was they actually took millions of images and videos, and these had been annotated with answers to all those checklist questions.
Wow.
So for each image, you'd have answers to questions like, is the background beautiful? Are the colors harmonious? And then for the videos, it'd be things like, is the camera stable? Is the motion realistic?
So we're talking about like a massive amount of data here.
Massive, yeah.
But I'm guessing the results were pretty impressive.
The results are really something.
Okay.
They found that VisionReward was incredibly accurate at predicting human preferences.
So it was actually able to say, okay, based on what I've learned, humans would probably like this image.
Exactly. And it was actually outperforming existing models in this area.
Wow. So this is like a big step forward then.
Yeah, like for example, it was being compared to another model called Video Score, and it actually did 17% better.
17%? That's huge.
Yeah, it's a big jump. Yeah, and especially impressive because it was really good with longer videos.
Oh, interesting.
Which are actually really hard to evaluate because you've got all those moving parts. The motion, the stability, the pacing.
So this isn't just about static images. It's like understanding video as this whole dynamic experience.
Yeah, and how all those elements contribute to our impression of the video.
So how did they make sure, though, that it wasn't just like replicating biases? I mean, if you're training it on all this data, like how do you guarantee that it's not just going to learn to like the same old things over and over again?
That's a great question, and the researchers were really careful about that.
Okay, cool.
They developed this algorithm called multi-objective optimization, or MPO.
Okay.
And what it does is it prevents the AI from becoming like too fixated on any one specific preference.
So it's like making sure it doesn't just think that all good photos have to be in black and white or something.
Precisely, yeah. It's like making sure that it's considering all the different things that make a visual appealing and not just optimizing for one particular thing.
So it's not just blindly imitating what it sees. It's like developing its own taste in a way.
Right. It's like it's understanding, the whole spectrum of what makes something visually appealing.
Okay, so that's how it avoids biases. But did they run into any like surprises during the process of developing this? Like any unexpected findings?
Yeah, actually they did.
Okay, I'm all ears.
So remember how we were talking about all those checklist questions? Well, a lot of those were broken down into like even more specific subdimensions.
Okay, so like for color, you might have questions about brightness, saturation.
Exactly, like a checklist within a checklist.
Yeah.
And one thing they found was that Vision Reward was incredibly consistent in its answers across all these different subdimensions.
Oh, wow.
So, like, if it rated a video high on color brightness, it was also highly likely to rate it high on color harmony and other related qualities.
So it wasn't just like randomly guessing. It was actually like making connections between those different aspects of visual quality.
It really suggests that it was developing this kind of deep understanding of visual concepts.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can do that, then it's not just mimicking human preferences. It's like starting to internalize them.
And applying them in a way that makes sense.
Yeah. And that raises some really interesting questions about like the nature of aesthetics itself,
Right. Like, if an AI can learn to appreciate beauty in the same way that we do, does that mean that beauty is somehow objective, or is it just a reflection of, like, all that human data it was trained on?
Yeah, that's something to think about. But so they didn't just develop VisionReward, right? They actually did something with it.
They did. They actually put it to work in a really cool way.
Okay, what did they do?
Well, they used it to fine-tune this other AI model called SDXL, which is a text-to-image generation model.
Oh, wow. So it's like they're using the taste that VisionReward developed to help SDXL create better images.
Exactly. Like, it's guiding the image creation process so that SDXL is more likely to produce images that people actually like.
So it's like having an AI art director that can tell you, hey, this composition needs work. Try adjusting the lighting.
That is a great way to put it, and it worked.
Oh, wow.
The images that the fine-tuned SDXL model created were rated way higher on all of VisionReward's quality dimensions.
So this isn't just theoretical. They're actually using VisionReward to make real improvements in AI image generation.
And they also applied the same approach to text-to-video generation with similar results.
So it seems like this has like really broad applications potentially.
It does. It suggests that, the methods they've developed could be used in all sorts of fields that deal with visual content.
So we've talked about how VisionReward works, its accuracy, those surprising findings about how consistent it was, and even if they're already putting it to use.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. But this is definitely a pretty big deal in the world of AI vision, wouldn't you say?
I'd say so, yeah. It's really exciting to see how AI is being used, not just to understand what we see, but to actually enhance our visual experiences.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I think that's a good place to take a break. So when we come back, we'll wrap up this deep dive into VisionReward.
Sounds good.
Welcome back, everyone. So before the break, we were talking about how these researchers actually put VisionReward to work.
Yeah, they didn't just stop at developing the model.
They really wanted to see what it could do.
Exactly. And one of the coolest things they did was use it to improve another AI.
Okay.
So they took this model called SDXL.
SDXL, that's, what is that?
Yeah, so SDXL is a text-to-image generation model.
Okay, so you give it a text prompt, and it creates an image.
Exactly.
And they used VisionReward to make it better.
They did.
Yeah.
It's like they took the knowledge that VisionReward had about what humans find visually appealing and used that to guide SDXL.
Oh, that's so cool. So it's like VisionReward is acting as like an art director or something.
Yeah, like it can tell SDXL, hey, humans probably won't like this image so much. Maybe try adjusting the colors or the composition.
I love that. So it's not just, judging existing images. It's actually helping to create new ones.
And the crazy thing is it actually worked.
Really?
Yeah, the images that SDXL created after being fine-tuned with VisionReward, they were consistently rated as being more visually appealing.
Wow. So it's not just a theory. They're actually proving that this can lead to tangible improvements in AI image generation.
And they did the same thing with text-to-video generation, too.
So it seems like the potential applications here are huge.
I mean, it could really revolutionize any field that involves creating visual content.
Okay, so before we move on, I want to just touch on something we were talking about before the break.
Yeah.
About how VisionReward was so consistent in its judgments across those subdimensions of the checklist.
Oh, yeah, that was super interesting.
Like if it thought an image was good in one way, it was also very likely to think it was good in other related ways.
Right, like it wasn't just making these random judgments, it was actually making these connections between different aspects of visual quality.
So how do we even explain that? What's going on there?
Well, I think it suggests that VisionReward isn't just memorizing a bunch of rules. It's actually starting to understand those underlying principles of aesthetics that we humans use.
Even if we can't always articulate them.
Exactly. And that's what's so fascinating about this research is that it's not just about building better AI. It's also helping us understand ourselves better.
It's like by studying how AI learns to see the world, we're learning more about how we see the world.
It's a really cool feedback loop.
So what are some of those underlying principles of aesthetics that you think Vision Reward might be picking up on?
Well, I think one of the big ones is balance.
Okay.
Like humans, we tend to find things that are balanced to be more pleasing,
Yeah.
whether it's the composition of an image or the way colors are used.
Like symmetry.
Yeah, symmetry is definitely a part of it, but it's also about like visual weight and how different elements in an image or video interact with each other.
So like if you have a really bright object on one side of an image, you might need something to balance it out on the other side.
Exactly.
And Vision Reward is figuring all this out on its own.
It seems like it, yeah, and that's what's so remarkable is that we didn't explicitly program these rules into it.
It's learning them from the data.
From looking at millions of images and videos and seeing what humans tend to prefer.
Okay, so another principle I'm thinking about is contrast.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
Like we talked about how Vision Reward was really good at judging things like color brightness and color harmony.
Right, and contrast plays a big role in both of those.
Yeah, like if all the colors in an image are really similar, it can look kind of bland.
But if you have some strong contrasts, it can make things pop.
Exactly. And I'm guessing Vision Reward is learning that contrast can be a good thing.
Yeah, I think so, because, high contrast images tend to be more visually stimulating.
They grab our attention.
Yeah, and they can also convey a wider range of emotions.
So it's not just about making things look pretty. It's also about like communicating something.
Right. And that's another thing that Vision Reward seems to be picking up on is that aesthetics aren't just about like surface level beauty. They're also about like meaning and emotion.
So like a photo that's technically perfect might not be as appealing as a photo that tells a story or evokes a feeling.
Exactly.
So Vision Reward is starting to understand that too.
It seems like it, and that's what makes this research so exciting is that it's really pushing the boundaries of what we thought AI could do.
It's not just about, recognizing objects or classifying things. It's about understanding those deeper aspects of visual experience that make us human.
And who knows, maybe one day AI will be able to create art that's even more meaningful and moving than anything humans have ever created.
That's a pretty mind-blowing thought.
It is, but it's not outside the realm of possibility.
All right, well, on that note, I think it's time to move on to the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, let's wrap things up.
Welcome back, everyone. So we've been on quite a journey, haven't we, exploring this AI that's learning to see the world through our eyes.
Yeah, Vision Reward is pretty remarkable.
I think it's safe to say this is a pretty big deal in the world of AI.
Definitely a big step forward.
But before we wrap up, I want to just take a minute to really emphasize why this research is so significant.
I mean, it's really a game changer because for the first time, we have an AI that can not only recognize what's in an image or video, but actually understand how all those visual elements contribute to its quality.
Yeah, like it's not just seeing, it's actually like experiencing it in a way.
Right, and that has huge implications for how we create and experience visual content in the future.
Okay, so let's do a quick recap of some of the key takeaways from our deep dive today.
Okay, sounds good.
So first off, the sheer scale of this project is just mind-blowing. They used millions of images and videos to train Vision Reward.
Yeah, and each one was carefully annotated with answers to all those checklist questions.
It's a testament to the dedication of these researchers. I mean, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, and it really highlights how complex our visual preferences are.
And that leads me to another key takeaway, that multidimensional approach they took.
Right. Instead of just giving an image or video like one overall score, they broke it down into all these different categories like composition, color, realism.
Yeah, and that allowed them to really capture the nuances of what makes something visually appealing to us humans.
Exactly. It's not just about like one thing. It's about how all those different aspects work together.
And then there's that super clever algorithm they developed, MPO.
Oh, yeah. Multi-objective optimization.
Which basically prevents Vision Reward from developing biases.
It makes sure that the AI is considering all those different dimensions of quality and not just focusing on one specific thing.
And all of that led to some pretty impressive results. Vision Reward was incredibly accurate at predicting human preferences.
Especially when it came to those longer videos, which are notoriously difficult to evaluate.
It's like they cracked the code of visual storytelling.
And this is really just the beginning. As this technology continues to develop, I think we're going to see some truly amazing things.
Well, folks, there you have it, a deep dive into the world of Vision Reward. An AI that's not just learning to see, but to actually understand and appreciate the beauty of the visual world. And as always, thanks for joining us on this journey of discovery. And until next time, keep those brains buzzing.